No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
38 shots for on Tuesday night, 2 goals for on Monday night, pardon me. Let's try that again. 38 shots for on Monday night, 2 goals scored. 48 shots for on Wednesday night, 2 goals scored. I'm no mathematician, but that tells me that our 58 shots are coming the Jets' way on Saturday night. The question is, will they score more than 2 goals? Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Minuk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss the Winnipeg Jets playing the right way, as the expression goes, but ultimately not getting any results. No finish, no victory in the win column. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Wednesday night. Thank you for filling in for me on Monday when I was under the weather.
Drew, I have a bigger question. Are you a mathematician, or a mathematician?
Mathematician. It's a Simpsons line.
I understand. People want to make sure that you put some clarity out there, Drew.
Yeah, no. I mean, I deliberately called myself a mathematician because it's a Simpsons reference.
Yeah, I'm with Drew there. I got that one. It was fine. He's fine.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Ezzy. I appreciate it.
You know how I'm usually on Team Minuk, but every so often I have to back Drew up. Like 10% of the time, I'm there for Drew. 90% of the time, I'm there for Dave.
I love it. That's enough.
If I was a mathematician, I'd say those are solid numbers.
Yeah, exactly right. I can't go wrong with those numbers whatsoever. The numbers that the Winnipeg Jets can go wrong with, again, is the 4-2 being on the losing side of the ledger. 2 goals for 48 on 48 shots. I mean, clearly you don't have to be, like I said, a mathematician to know that your shooting percentage there is under 5%. This is a Winnipeg Jets team that for the second game in a row, is getting shots on goal, but not getting any results for it. And ultimately, I mean, somebody would say that you play this way over an 82 game season, your results are going to be ultimately be, on the positive side of the ledger. And they're probably right. Unfortunately, for the Winnipeg Jets, they don't have 82 games left with which to get everything to equal itself out. They're down to 17 games, and Calgary, as we know, won against these Minnesota Wild last night. And the Winnipeg Jets,
the first 1-0 game of the year, by the way. Like, I can't remember. I was asking Dave, like, if there have been 1-0 games, like, there's been a handful of them.
Yeah, not very many, but because
you don't see that. That's like early 2000s, like New Jersey Devils type of scores.
Yeah, it's been a long time, I think, since you saw a 1-0 game. I'd agree with that. But this Jets team just continues to struggle. I mean, it's a loss. Everything else about it, if they didn't keep score in the game based on the number of pucks that go behind a goalie and past the goal line and into the net, you'd say the Winnipeg Jets should have won this game. But unfortunately, they didn't. And it's a results-oriented business, especially at this time of year where moral victories can only take you so far. They have 17 games left. They are fighting tooth and nail for a playoff spot. They're one of the worst teams in the NHL since January the 1st. They can't get goals when they need to get goals. And from my perspective, as I'm sitting here today, I'm looking at the big names, the guys who are paid the big dollars to score for this team, yet again came up short. And not only that, but Mark Scheifele, not to say that it was, the loss is on his shoulders, but when they're pressing for the tying goal, you just have to find a way to not give up that puck the way they did tonight that ended up with the empty net goal by Mason Shaw. The process is good. The results are not. And ultimately on March the 8th, that's all that matters.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it yet, Drew, and I'm sure we're going to touch on it, but we shouldn't mention it. It was obviously mentioned on the broadcast, and most people watching the game would be aware of the Wild played last night, right? Mm-hmm. So you could see it, right? Like, you could see the second period was the Wild best period, but you could see as that period went on, right? Dave was in the building, like, you could see that they were kind of hanging on there, right? And then when Nino scored the 3-2 goal, you got the feeling that, okay, the Jets might tie this game up with a couple minutes left, right? They were hemmed in their zone. And then the third period, right? Like, kind of more of the same, right? And you're right, Drew. If you weren't just looking at the scoreboard and you were looking at, let's say, natural stat trick, the possession was like heavily tilted in the Jets' favor. Like, we don't even have to go. You mentioned, what was it, 48 shots that they ended up with? Like every single period was except for maybe the second, but I still think the Jets outshot them by like 5 or 6. Dave might know better than I would, but it doesn't matter. They were badly outshot. And yes, there were some crazy magical saves that Marc-Andre Fleury was making. It was almost like he, took a time capsule back to 2018 when he was doing that for the Golden Knights, right? And funny enough, Ryan Reeves is his teammate on the Wild now, right? Because he, of course, scored the winning goal in whatever that was. Game 5, guys? What was it? Game 5 or Game 6 when he scored that tip goal? But
the series only went 5 games. So
there you go. So it was Game 5. I remember it was in Winnipeg because it was very nice out on the walk home, but it wasn't the happiest walk home.
It was Victoria Day Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was very close.
Or
to
maybe
the
Sunday of the Victoria Day, Sunday of the Victoria Day long weekend or something.
Ariella was born like a week later. Okay. But yeah, like Fleury was great. So, but you can call it whatever you want. You could say that they're goal lead, whatever. But also, I mean, Hellebuyck lets in a really weak goal. And again, you're not going to hang this on Hellebuyck because Hellebuyck is arguably the team's MVP this season, along with Josh Morrissey, right? Pick your poison. Maybe that's not the right word, but pick who you want the Jets MVP to be. It's Morrissey or Hellebuyck. Most people are going to say one of those two guys. So we're not going to, pick on Hellebuyck here, but the Ryan Hartman goal, I just don't know how that squeaks through his pads. Like, I mean, look, every good goalie is going to let in some bad goals. But Hellebuyck, his last, 4 games at home, previous to this game, the 3 games, he let in 5 goals, right? So he's really been struggling, and you don't expect to see it as much at home. You don't expect it to see it necessarily on the road either. But look, that was really the difference, right? Because if in a game in which, you're struggling to put the puck in the net, then Logan Stanley finally gets you on the board, so it's 2-1, and then 55 seconds later, Ryan Hartman scores. So it was just so deflating.
Yeah.
And the Jets just couldn't, it's like even like late in the game there in the third period, Kyle Connor had that chance in the slot. I'm not sure if Fleury got a piece of it or it hit the post or what, because it was tough. It was happening so quickly. But like Vladislav Nemesnikov, had a couple of really good chances earlier in the game from the slot. Like Morgan Barron had that really good chance. There were 10 or 12 high danger chances, Dave. Like the Jets had so many opportunities to score in this game, and Fleury was great, but again, you didn't finish. So you can call it goalie or whatever you want. It's the continued lack of goal scoring that's hurting this team.
And look, at the end of the day, Connor Hellebuyck isn't without criticism. I mean, I'm sorry, you can't. He's been the Jets MVP. There's no question about it. But when he doesn't play well, you can point out that Connor Hellebuyck plays well. He's not infallible. And so I think that's, a point worth making, because it seems like, and again, you're not picking on Connor Hellebuyck, because as folks who have watched this program or listened to us, they know that when he plays well or he plays exceptional, which is quite often, then we credit him for what he's doing. But when he doesn't, then we don't. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that Connor Hellebuyck probably wanted 2 of those goals back. You could argue about one of them, but the reality to me is it was deflating. And as he just said, and we'll talk on it when we do the recap, but there's nothing worse when your team fights back and gets some life and gives the building some life, and you're, quote, playing the right way. And then what ends up being, you want to talk about insult to injury. The game-winning goal ends up being a goal that should never have gone in the first place. So, look, Connor Hellebuyck let in 3 goals on 9 shots, guys. That's not a good number for anyone. That's not a good number for any goaltender, and any goaltender who lets in 3 goals on 9 shots. Not ideal. Look, Arvid Holm last night, I don't want to make this a Manuk Moose minute, but he let in 2 goals on the first 3 shots for the Moose. So you're thinking, this ain't going to be a good result. Now, he figured it out, only gave up 1 on the next 20, and they ended up coming back and winning that game. So it's not impossible for a goaltender to start off slowly not. And we know that Connor Hellebuyck's more of a volume goaltender, doesn't like to sit idly by with the Jets. They haven't given him many instances where they control the play the way they did tonight. But it's at the end of the day, first of all, he deserves criticism because he let in goals that he shouldn't have. And the Jets deserve criticism because they didn't score enough. Yeah. And again, guys, all their big guns. They're big guns, with the exception of Nino Niederreiter, who now qualifies as one of their big guns. They've been absent. Like, sorry guys, you know
Kyle
what?
Connor to me, Dave, is really fighting it. He hasn't scored since the Kings game. Like he's a guy that's like he's creating space for himself and he's getting looks and he's getting shots, but he's a guy that seems like he's gripping his stick tight, as they say. Like he seems like a guy who he knows that they're counting on him and Scheifele and Ehlers to score goals, and he looks like.
And Drew, Drew, I just want to finish. I just want to finish my point because quickly.
Just thought I'd get that in there. Connor to me is one of those guys.
It is, but I'm just telling you what ends up being though, boys, is that the last. If you look at the long list of the last little bit for this Jets schedule, the game against Edmonton, maybe the game against the Kings, are those mirages, and the rest of it is more likely an indication where the Jets have struggled to score. You know, I mean, not that Phoenix, I don't want to rip Phoenix Copley because I think he was the fastest King to ever win 20 games. But the fact is that the Jets haven't been able to score. So I'm not blaming Connor Hellebuck entirely. I think he owns some of this loss. So
how is Phoenix Copley the fastest King to win 20 games?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, to your point there, Dave, I think what you're saying is that the Jets have only really been able to succeed as of late in beating what I'll describe as mediocre to average goaltenders. I mean, because Phoenix Copley is a mediocre to average goaltender at best.
Yeah.
Jack Campbell in Edmonton is a mediocre to average goaltender at best. They both had lousy games when they faced the Jets, and those are the only times the Jets have been able to score. Look,
and by the way, your power play going over 6 the last 2 games is inexcusable.
Well,
with the talent that you have, it's inexcusable.
The power play struggles. The Jets' best players, and of which I'm saying Hellebuck, Scheifele, Connor, Ehlers. I'll even throw Morrissey in there, but I think he gets a pass for the most part. Blake Wheeler's still in that conversation. The guys that the team relies on to get goals and get important goals, timely goals. When was the last time this team got a really timely goal? You would say maybe it was going to be Nate Schmidt's goal on Monday night that gave them the lead. Well, then they ended up giving up that lead. So, I mean, yes, it was timely for a brief period of time. But again, a timely goal from one of the guys who are paid the most money to score a goal. It's been a while. And so from Connor Hellebuck's perspective, yeah, that's a terrible goal to give up in tonight's game. And yeah, it turns out to be the game-winning goal. And yeah, it's definitely a deflating goal to give up, given that the Jets had just scored to cut the lead in half. No argument there. But if you're Connor Hellebuck, you have to be thinking to yourself, night in and night out, I can't give up more than 2 goals because my team can't score for the most part, by and large. Exceptions, of course. It's got to be very difficult to play under that cloud night in and night out. I'm willing to give him a pass because more often than not, he's there for the team. It's Scheifele. When has Scheifele taken over a game or a shift since January 1st? Because, I mean, let's be honest, it's been since January 1st now. It's over 2 months. When has Scheifele taken over a game? When has Connor taken over a game? Ehlers, I'm convinced, is still injured, so you can understand maybe why he hasn't been able to take over a game. Blake Wheeler...
Or more so that he's feeling the effects of the surgery.
Right, he's not at full strength. Blake Wheeler can't take over games anymore. It's not in his skill set anymore. So, you have a Jets team that is just climbing uphill without a net every time they're trying to score a goal. And it's their biggest names that aren't pulling their weight, in my estimation. And you saw that tonight, especially with the struggles of the power play. I mean, it's just horrendous. That late, there's been a number of games now where the Jets have had late power plays. And they not only do they not even get close to scoring, they can't even get set up.
It kills momentum. It actually does the opposite, right? Like sometimes when you don't score in a power play, it gives you momentum still if you generate a lot of scoring chances, right, boys? And I think, Drew I agree with you, by the way, Drew, and you made, I think, a good point when you mentioned, Niederreiter. Like, it's not a coincidence that he's one of the newest Jets, along with Nemestikov, and they are the most noticeable and the most impactful, right? Because you have a lot of guys that are in slumps, and, we don't have to beat the dead horse because, it's something we've talked about, I think, on the last 2, if not 3 shows, like what's going on with Ehlers, and I still don't buy the ice time, I realize that's kind of the narrative that the Jets and I guess the media have had to adopt. But like this kind of idea that Ehlers isn't playing as much because of, the fact that he had sports hernia surgery, like he's been back in the lineup for 2.5 months now.
Yeah, but I don't think he's back at full strength. I
don't know. He did have like he was a point a game player for the first 16 games.
That's true, I suppose.
But that's kind of my point though. Not just the production, but this kind of like it. I guess what I'm saying is it kind of sounds like an excuse to me, right? Like, and if he's not getting the power play time, okay, then his ice time's not going to be there. But we're talking about 5-on-5. But regardless, there's a lot of guys on this team that need to start scoring. Like it's just simple as that. So yes, like great, you put a lot of rubber on Marc-Andre Fleury. Well, if you followed Marc-Andre Fleury throughout his whole career with the Wild, the Golden Knights, and the Penguins, he loves a lot of rubber, right?
Like, don't forget Chicago, has he?
Well, oh yeah, he had a great tenure with Chicago there. What a joke. But no, I mean, this guy loves to face 35 plus shots, 40 plus shots, right? So I mean, Fleury did that in 2018, and he won cups with Pittsburgh. Like Fleury's a great goaltender, so you can't like. What are the Wild going to make an excuse for the fact that Fleury's having a great stretch here? Like there are guys that they need to find a way to score, and they need to find a way to get points here. And this season is quickly slipping away. Like 3 or 4 weeks ago, we would have said there's no way the Jets are going to miss the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, I still think the Jets will hang on to a playoff spot. I mean, let's not get into that, but I do think the Flames. It's not exactly like the Flames are a scary team. They've just put together a couple wins in a row. And now they're 4 or 5 points back, right? So all I'm saying is I still think the Jets will make the playoffs, but I don't think you would have said that back in December or January that the Jets would just limp in. You thought they'd be first or second in the Central. So right now they've got to figure this out because their top guys just aren't producing. And it's not like they're not getting chances. They're not finishing. So it's really tough to watch. And I can imagine, the 15,000 or so Jets fans that were watching this game and all the, tens of thousands that were watching it on TV are frustrated. Because you look at the shot total and you're like, why can't these guys score more goals? They should have probably had 5 or 6 goals on Fleury tonight.
Well, the high danger chances. So if you want to look at that, high danger chances for the Jets were 22-9 in their favor. 22 high danger chances is a significant number. That's not a low number. Expected goals for the Jets 3.81. So look, we know the numbers were in their favor, and if the Jets could take this game and replicate it. They would gladly do that. This was how you want to look. Everything about their game was good, except for the fact that they can't score. And there's been plenty of teams in the NHL, unfortunately for the Jets, that ultimately can't score. And if you can't score, everything else doesn't matter. You're just not going to be successful. So you have to find a way.
And this is something, by the way, Drew, sorry, that I don't think anybody expected, right? Like you've got Kyle Connor, you've got Mark Scheifele, who's well on his way to a 40-plus goal season, right? Like Pierre-Luc Dubois when he's in the lineup, even though Bailey is putting that up there. That's big news. So thank you to Bailey for bringing that up.
Read it out, remember.
Exactly. Let me read it for the podcast, folks. This courtesy of Bailey Weeb, the official Illegal Curve intern. Breaking news, Pierre-Luc Dubois is dealing with another upper body injury that he suffered against the San Jose Sharks on Monday. He will not travel with the Winnipeg Jets as they embark on this upcoming it's a 4-gamer or 3-gamer?
Yeah, it's 4-game. It's a 4-game road trip. It's not that big a deal. They're just playing Florida, Tampa, Carolina, and Boston.
That's right. The Boston game's back at home, isn't it? Yeah, they already played in Boston.
Boston game, I think, is at home.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Sorry, you're right. You're right.
It's a 3-gamer.
3-gamer.
It's a 3-gamer, and then they come home.
Oh, fine. But the next 4 games are against very
big
tough
Eastern Conference teams. Yeah, they just come home for that 1 game against Boston, then they fly right back out to Nashville for that weird Saturday afternoon 1:00 start against the Predators a week from this.
By the way,
Saturday.
I'm pretty sure Nino Niederreiter's like, why? Maybe trade me back to Nashville because I want to be on a team that could be in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, yeah. Well, I mean, look, that game's going to have playoff significance. The way the Predators are staying in it.
I'm not that surprised, by the way, Drew, that news came out because if you ask Dave when we were watching the third period here, I said like Dubois, he didn't have a good game against the Sharks. He played 20 minutes. I just checked his ice time, but he you could see that the injury, it was like the definition of a nagging injury. Right. He just like anybody watched that game he was not a noticeable player out there. He was almost like 50% of his usual self.
He also had that weird kind of collision in the neutral zone, where he kind of you could see it happen, but it wasn't really on camera. The puck wasn't there, so he got the hit, and then you could see it kind of like jarred him a little bit, and then he went back to the bench and he stayed out and he came out for his next shift, but you weren't certain. And just to quickly go back to this game and talking about the history and the way this Jet team is kind of limping into the playoffs, a la 2018-19.
If they make it that far,
but I'm saying if they make the playoffs, what is happening similar to 18-19? Well, the Jets got swept in their season series against the Minnesota Wild. That instance, it was 5 games where they didn't win once against the Minnesota Wild. This year now, I believe that was their third loss. Third loss. They're playing the Wild one more time. So if they don't win against the Wild, I think it's sometime in April, they'll have very similar feelings, which we've been referencing 18-19 quite a bit as the last month or two. So another thing to think about.
This team definitely doesn't have 17-18 vibes. I'll tell you that.
Definitely not.
Right side of the defense is not the same.
For the record, that's when they went 7-2, I think, against Minnesota.
Yeah, there was a time. Look, what you like about Minnesota is they know their identity and they play to it very well. So I mean, Dean Evison I don't think gets enough credit for the job he's doing. Yeah, for the job he's doing behind the bench in Minnesota. Look,
nice to see his mom there, by the way.
Okay, yeah, the Wild are, they're not flashy. I mean, and now of course, if they're without Kirill the Thrill after he left after that Logan Stanley hit,
they won't get out of the first round without Kaprizov.
No, they don't have enough firepower. I would agree with that.
That's the same thing as the Jets not having Scheifele or Connor in a playoff series, right? Like he's that impactful.
Yeah, exactly. He's their best. He's their most skilled, best offensive player by a country mile, I would suggest. In any event, I mean, look, the Wild are a good hockey team. The Jets needed to find a way to win this game, and they needed to find a way to win on Monday. So yeah, on Monday, you don't like giving up the goal late, but you got to find a way to win it in overtime. And you can't take what you did on Saturday, and they get the good vibes from the win on Saturday. And they have 2 winnable games Monday, Wednesday, one against the San Jose Sharks team that is playing out the string. And then the Wednesday game against the Minnesota Wild, as in tonight's game against the team on the second half of a back-to-back. And you somehow only get 1 point out of those 2 games. That's just not good enough.
No,
it's just not good enough. You have to
especially
find
when you
a way.
have the schedule that you have coming up. And now, Drew, without Pierre-Luc Dubois, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this quite a bit on Saturday morning show, in addition to previewing the game against the Panthers and the Lightning. But like Nemestikov, I thought, like I told Dave, like he's not who you want to have as your second line center ideally. Right. He's a guy that can fill in, and he had scoring chances tonight, right? Yeah. So Nemestikov is like, it's fine, but like, to not have Dubois for this stretch coming up is a huge it's a difficult pill to swallow for the Jets because it's Winnipeg Sports Talk, they were talking about it today, like happy second anniversary to Winnipeg Sports Talk, by the way. But Huss and Remus were calling this the biggest game of the year. And you lost and you didn't get a single point in a game in which you badly outshot the opposition, right? So if tonight's game was the biggest game of the year, then basically every single game after this is the biggest game of the year because right now they're fighting for their playoff lives.
By my count, by the way, sorry to interrupt, Drew, but by my count, this is the 3rd or 4th most important game of the year that the Jets have already had. So he's 100% right.
Because the Colorado game to me was also one of the biggest games of the year because you had Colorado hard charging at you, right? So like,
but Rick Bowness basically said that he didn't maybe use those exact words, but he essentially said those words, right? That there's a huge importance of on the game. And it was funny because Brendan Dillon in his pregame comments to Sarah Orlesky, of course, on the Jets pregame show, made a comment, not show, but just in their pregame comment, said something along the lines of, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have put the level of pressure that we did on ourselves in that Colorado game, in terms of the importance and stuff like that. And look, Colorado went out after, hitting a little slide themselves, and they pumped those same San Jose Sharks that had beaten the Jets. I think they beat them 6-0. So look, all the teams around the Jets are winning. Calgary's winning. The Wild are winning. The Colorado Avalanche are winning. The Dallas Stars winning. So the only team that's not winning right now are those Winnipeg Jets. They're not putting the win.
Easy there, Charlie.
They're not putting the win in Winnipeg right now. So it's leaving a lot. Again, to quote former Jets coach Claude Noel, the joy has left Joyville.
Well, there's no joy. It certainly isn't. And
the
Jets will head out east, of course, to face the Panthers and the Lightning Saturday, Sunday, and then Carolina home, and then back home to Boston as they try and right the ship as the struggles continue for the hometown team. Let's get into the Betway game recap. It, of course, is brought to you by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options and sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. The Jets dominate the first period. 15-5 are the shots on goal. They dominate it in the advanced stats. They dominate it in any stat that you want to look at, except for the one that counts the most. That, of course, is the scoreboard. Marcus Foligno loves playing against the Winnipeg Jets. He gets his 6th of the year. Assist to Sundqvist and Middleton. It comes at the 14-14 mark of the first period. It looks like it should be fairly innocuous, but the Jets just
good word, Drew.
Thank
Great
you.
word.
The Jets have just way too much, give up too much time and space, and let Foligno come in and step into a great saucer pass from Sundqvist, wiring it past Connor Hellebuyck. Of the 3 goals, forget about the empty netter. Of the 3 goals that Connor Hellebuyck gives up, I think this is the one you're the most okay with. It's a great shot by Foligno. I don't love the on ice communication here between Pionk, Morrissey, and Saku Manalainen. I'm really not sure what Manalainen's doing on this play. Sort of, if he stays where he was, in my estimation, he's in a better position. Then he sort of goes and he chases Sundqvist, but Pionk is there and seemed to be in a good position to handle Sundqvist, and instead it leaves a big space for Foligno to step into a shot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Sundqvist was a good acquisition, right? Like I don't remember what they gave up to get him from the Blues, but we were talking about the Blues and the Jets back in 2019, right? When that we all remember what happened in that first round series, right?
Yeah.
But he's a useful player. I was telling Dave, the one guy that I'm not a Wild enthusiast or a Wild fan, but I just like Jordan Greenway. So I thought that trade, I know that apparently they didn't like the contract or they weren't going to sign him, or I forget if he was anyways, doesn't matter. But regardless, Sundqvist I thought was a pretty smart he's one of those guys that is just good to have on the third or fourth line for the playoffs, right? So you're right. Like we always hear the coaches talking about the gap. Our gaps were good, everything like that, the cliche, right? And that's kind of what you're talking about, Drew. There's just too much time and space here. Marcus Foligno has so much room there, and it's an even man situation. It's not like it's a 3-on-2 or anything like that. The Jets have the numbers back. They're fine. Morrissey was a little bit out of position as well, right? So it's a nice little pass by Sundqvist, and I agree. Like I saw on Twitter, some people were saying, that Hellebuyck should have that. Like, to me, that's a nice shot. People forget Marcus Foligno can score goals. He's not just a third line grinder. Like, this is a guy. I actually think he would be perfect for the Jets, to be honest with you. But it's a nice shot by Foligno, but just a little bit too much time in the defensive zone, and maybe just not great communication between the 2 defensemen and Manalainen in there.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it seems like, to me, again, looking at the replay, and I looked at it a few times, if Manalainen is just sort of staying in the area where he had been, then Foligno doesn't have the opportunity to step in there. Now, I don't know what the on-ice communication was between Pionk and Manalainen and Morrissey, but it just seemed, it just seemed like it was off a little bit, which led to the opportunity. And like I said, a great shot by Foligno. These guys know how to score goals, and that was just a goal scorer's goal, beating Connor Hellebuyck with that.
Did Foligno have a 20-goal season in his career? I feel like he scored 20 one year, but he's a good hockey player.
He's a good hockey player. I mean, if he played against the Jets every game, he'd probably have 40 goals in a season. But
I like how someone said, "Oh, this is his numbers against the Jets," and they literally use Connor McDavid's stats.
Yeah, that's funny.
He had 23 goals last year.
Yeah, he's a decent hockey
So
player.
23 goals, and he's on your third line. I don't know if that's the second. I'm pretty sure that is the third line, right? So, I mean, Foligno's a really good player. I just think, he's a guy who drops the gloves, right? So people have this kind of, it's like, Bob Probert. People forget Bob Probert. I think he scored 31 year for the Red Wings, didn't he, Dave?
He did.
That's the thing with Probert. He was a good hockey player. He wasn't just a goon.
Well, and boys, one of the things, and I'm trying to pull it up right now as he was talking, but like one of the things that Rick Bowness talked about in the morning availability, and I'm going to pull up the quote right now. He said, "The start in getting that early lead is going to be very important for us. Says, if you want Minnesota to change their game, key is to get a lead and they'll open up their game a little bit." Yeah, well, what I'm going to say is this. There's no doubt, like, the Jets outshot him 10-1 at one point. I think like 8 minutes into the first period. The Jets had all the momentum. They weren't getting I'm not suggesting that they were all high danger chances, but the Jets had some good shots. They had some good chances, and they were controlling the puck. The puck was in the Minnesota end for the majority of that first period, at least for the first half of the first period. So if you're a Jets fan, you like to see the team's reaction. You like to see the way the team came out to start that hockey game, because too many times we've said about this Jets team, they don't come out, they don't start on time. Too many
Mhm.
times we've said that, where the Jets find themselves down 1-0, 2-0, and you're like, well, it's like 2 minutes into the game. What's going on here? And then you're playing catch up. So again, you're going to give them credit for that. But the problem for them is that they didn't get the lead. And then they did have to try and break through. And Minnesota with the 1-3-1 doesn't make it easy on you to get through because they're tough. They really do box out, and they don't give up a lot of quality in front of Marc-Andre Fleury. You got to give him credit for the way he played, but you also got to give his defense credit, for holding the way they did again against. I remember they did play a 65-minute hockey game last night in Minnesota. So
I like that Jacob Middleton, by the way, Dave. He's a good defenseman.
he's very old school with that big mustache, is he? Like that's a very old school, like 80s stash there. But it's noticeable from up in the press box. You can see him from a mile away. But so if you're a Jets fan, you're happy because you're thinking to yourself, wow, they've controlled. Sure, Minnesota's tight, because they played last night. But the Jets have been all over them because they're desperate. The Jets are playing desperate. The Jets are controlling the play. They're not playing out of their structure. And then all of a sudden, one breakdown, and now the third shot against you ends up. So even if you don't like the way the Jets played that, the fact of the matter is there's nothing more soul crushing for this Jets team to be controlling the play, playing the right way, and now suddenly you find yourself down 1-0, even though you've outshot them 12-3.
Especially the team that's fragile, like the Jets are, a team that's not playing with any confidence.
Well, I think that's what Rick Bowness Drew is saying without saying it, right? Like we don't want to give up a goal because then blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, I can say it. They're definitely fragile. They don't have a lot of confidence because when the game is a struggle, why would you have a lot of confidence? I mean, they've been struggling for 2 months, maybe longer. So
half the season. I put it out there on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Like first 32, 21-10-1. Last 32, they've been 500, right? So that's almost half the season.
Wild make it 2-0, 7:06 into the second period. Frederick Gaudreau getting his 12th of the season, assist to Marcus Foligno, another 2-point game for him, and Sundqvist, a 2-point game for him. This one is just a bit of a Keystone Cops-esque move. Pionk, there's a turnover at the Jets blue line. Pionk loses his stick. He can't, intercept the pass that seemed like would have been a routine sort of play. And then Gaudreau is all alone left behind, and he sort of is able to deke out Connor Hellebuyck. And Hellebuyck doesn't look great in this one. He looks a little bit like a fish out of water, flopping around. Just not a lot of poise to.
And it just squeaked between him, right? Like he got a piece of it, and then you originally thought he made the save. Like watching it live, I thought the whistle was going to be blown, and then it went in, right? So it was just. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I can cut in here and just go, Drew, but like it's a bad turnover by El Nino, right? And he redeems himself and he scores the Jets' second goal, but it's Sundqvist, steals the puck or whatever you want to call it. It's a turnover.
Yeah.
And Pionk drops his stick, and so it's a nice play to Foligno and by Foligno, and it's just. Gaudreau's all alone, and Hellebuyck, no problem, he could do it, but it was like he was kind of deked out a little bit, and then he just lost his positioning, right? And like we said, like he got a piece of it, but then it squeaked through. So it's a bad turnover, and we've been talking about that, so many times over the last 3 or 4 weeks that the Jets, it seems like that's the thing too that I wanted to mention. And Dave and I, if you watch the post-game show, we give Drew a hard time about attention to detail and everything like that, but like. Really, the Jets' margin for error right now is so slim. And it has been, like Drew said, it has been since late December, early January. And it seems like every time they make a mistake like that, it's in the back of their net. But they have to work 10 times harder than the other team to score a goal, right? So, to me, like Hellebuyck, that's, you got to make a save there. But also, Freddie Gaudreau he has all, like I like to say, he had time to make a sandwich. He had so much time in front of the net to make all these moves.
Yeah.
And the puck squeaks through Hellebuyck. So it's, like you said, Keystone Cops, Niederreiter turns the puck over, Pionk loses his stick. And again, it's a nice pass by Foligno, but again, you're down 2-0 when you probably should be up 2 or 3-0.
Well, the way you've controlled the play. I mean, the shots were one-sided at that point in time. The scoring chances were one-sided, but somehow you're down 2-0. And for the Winnipeg Jets, they do get an all-important goal to get back into the game, to cut the lead in half. Logan Stanley.
Who else?
Who else? Exactly. Not the name you expected me to say here. He's back in the lineup. Again, I mean, it was I found it to be a curious decision, this sort of rotation that seems to be going on between Samberg and Stanley. But
they're clearly showcasing him, Drew.
for the trade
next
deadline
year's
next
trade
year.
deadline, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Stanley, gets back in the lineup for tonight's game. I thought he had a pretty decent game, so I'll give him credit there. And he gets his first goal of the season, and he's not at a spot where you'd expect him to be, whipping around the back of the net and pouncing on a loose puck. The Mesnikov getting the primary assist, Ehlers getting the secondary assist. This is just a good active goal. That the Jets defense wants to be active. And you saw Nate Schmidt score from sort of the slot area on Monday. And this is Logan Stanley scoring from the side of the net. So, the defense is active when the defensemen are scoring from that low down in the offensive zone, Dave.
Yeah, and I jokingly said that on Twitter. I said, well, this is going to break Twitter now that Logan Stanley got the goal. And it was, again, Drew, like you said, it's his first goal of the season. You could see he was excited. Yeah. He had to talk about the whole trade request thing today in his pregame media availability. He said, I jokingly said to Mike McIntyre, the Free Press, I said, Logan Stanley should have come out in an I Love Winnipeg t-shirt.
Winnipeg is good.
Yeah, Winnipeg is good. So
then he would have been traded for sure an hour later.
Yeah. But anyways, so look, I mean, he answered the questions and he said what he needed to say. And now that conversation is done for the rest of the year. And he'll just do what he wants to do, which is play hockey and get in the opportunities when he gets in the lineup. And you're right. Dylan Samberg didn't deserve to come out of the lineup. Probably Kyle Capobianco didn't deserve to come out of the lineup. I would suggest
that was illness related for sure.
Well, maybe.
Well, I mean, he said he was sick.
I know. I'm just kidding. But I'm joking. But there's been like some conspiracy theories. Like people are like, was he really sick?
Okay. When the coach says a guy's sick, let me just stop you right there.
No, but anyways, I don't really. You don't need.
I know.
You don't need to qualify it. It's fine.
Let me just say it. When the coach says a player's sick, that means they're sick. It's not some sort of grand conspiracy theory that everyone's involved in.
But apparently, Drew, Nancy Kerrigan's old trainer was seen around Canada Life Center. So apparently, something might have happened.
I did make that joke recently. Why? But anyways, the point is,
remember her when she said why?
Yeah. Yes, but that was Tanya Harding's trainer. Would have been the one who would do it.
Right. Sorry.
She was a victim, Ezzy.
Yeah. I tried watching that biopic that was done. I forget what it was called about Tanya Harding. I couldn't get through it past 5 minutes. It was so bad. So if anybody was considering watching the Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan biopic, Ezzy and Ebert give it 2 thumbs down.
I mean, look, and if you're going to be sitting a defenseman, I suspect number 4 is the one who should be coming out of the lineup and not any of the other guys at this point over him. So my own personal opinion, but I mean, look, I don't like the way he played that second goal. I mean, it's deflating. Right? Oh, sorry. I went back to the second goal because I was so angry, but we'll go back to that third goal because the Jets, look, Logan Stanley needed that goal and the fan base needed that goal because for that point, I mean, you're sitting there going, okay, it's 2-0. What are the chances the Jets are coming back? They can't score a goal right now. They can't score on the power play. Can't score 5-on-5. So what are the odds that they're going to come against a Minnesota team? I think Marc-Andre Fleury set a record for the record that he had set a record. Because I honestly think I don't know what the shutout streak was.
Hold on a second. T. Kona Pauly actually watched that movie last night. I don't believe him. Anyways, continue, Dave.
What movie did you talking about? I lost my
the Tanya Harding
documentary. The Tanya Harding.
I'm sorry.
And then we got Gordy Angus in the chat here saying that it was a good movie. Somebody remembered that his name was Jeff Galooly, by the way. That's unbelievable. That someone remembered.
That was her boyfriend /
He was that fat guy that wore the tracksuit with the mustache.
Oh.
Kind of looks a little bit like me, by the way.
For Halloween once?
Yeah, wasn't that you? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point is that, the Jets, the fan base went erupted. I mean, folks were pumped up. I mean, understandably so, because I think partly because they needed that goal and partly because it was Logan Stanley scoring the goal. I think there was a lot of excitement. And again, you could just feel it in the building. Like you guys said, I was there, I'm watching this game and I'm like, okay, the fans are pumped up. They're ready to go. And well, Drew, take it away.
Well, unfortunately, 55 seconds later, the any air that was in the balloon got quickly deflated. This is the game-winning goal. It's just an awful, awful goal. Ryan Hartman, his 10th of the season. Ryan Hartman's also a guy who likes playing against the Winnipeg Jets. Didn't he have a 5-point night against the Jets when he got acquired by the
Predators?
The Predators. Right at the
Is
trade
he related
deadline.
to former Jet 1.0 Mike Hartman?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But he had a 5-point night when right after he was acquired by the Predators back in, that was 17-18. I think it was a 6-5 Predators win.
Wow.
Right after the trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken. a few years back. Somebody
You
can
have obviously
fact check me
not
on
killed
that
as
one.
many brain cells as I have, Drew, because there's no way I would have remembered that from 6 years ago. But
Somebody
yeah, I do
fact-
remember that game though.
Somebody fact check me on that one.
And
but I think I'm right.
I might add, wasn't that right around the same time the Jets got Stastny?
Yes, it was right after. It was the first game after the
Yeah.
trade deadline. Might have even been the night of the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Jets got Stastny and the Predators got Ryan Hartman.
Yeah.
Hartman came over from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that where he was Chicago?
Remember
Yeah.
Scotty Hartnell had a good game there too.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Towards the end of his career, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Hartman, his 10th of the season, assist to Kaprizov, and Middleton again. Middleton having 2 assists in tonight's game. Look, and this is just a goal that cannot go in. And Connor Hellebuyck would be the first to tell you that it cannot go in. It's a bad one to give up. He looked like a goalie who maybe was fighting the puck a little bit tonight. He didn't have to make very many big saves. I mean, I'm trying to think about any sort of grade A. He made a nice save early in the third period on an in-tight chance. I think it was a backhand short side in-tight chance. But he didn't have to make a big number of saves because the Jets controlled the majority of the play. This one can't go in. And it does. And then he gets the Bronx cheer on the next save he makes after this one. So things were getting a little bit ugly in downtown Winnipeg.
I got to say again, I don't like it. I think that's BS that he's getting that cheer at that point in the game. I'm sorry. Hellebuyck is your MVP. Like, again, I'm with the fans for the most part. Like, obviously, if fans do something stupid, I'm not with that.
Right.
But maybe it's just me. Maybe we'll get the chat in there. But like, you're giving it to Connor Hellebuyck. Like,
I think
where would the Jets be without Hellebuyck this year?
Here's the only thing, guys. I would say that if you're paying money to watch that hockey game and you're seeing what's happening, you're allowed to do whatever you want.
Of course, they're allowed to do what they want.
So
but I
I'm
think
just
the
saying,
difference is, sorry, Dave.
No, I'm not saying because the reality is, like, look, they're like, he let in 3 goals on 9 shots. When Connor Hellebuyck doesn't play well, you can give it to him a little bit. Honestly, like, I'm sorry, this guy, guys, you can't, like, what is he so sensitive that he can't take any criticism? Like, in what world do we live in, like, where a guy cannot, like, you are wanting to be a Vezina goaltender, right? Everybody's was anointing him the Vezina winner. Well, okay, you're in the NHL. You are open to be criticized. We criticize every player on this roster. And I mean, we can criticize Connor Hellebuyck. I'm sorry, we can.
Criticism, to me, fair criticism is one thing, Dave. I guess the thing that bothers me, and you know me, like I'm only things that bother me are like few and far between. Like the puck over the glass penalty. Like I agree with you. You pay $100, $200 to watch a game, but the thing to me is the Bronx cheer is mocking. Like that's disrespectful. It's mocking a guy who just let in a bad goal. And to me, you got to support Hellebuyck when he makes one bad save. Like he is won a Vezina trophy. He's been a Vezina finalist. He's probably going to be a Vezina finalist. I don't like it, but we don't have to spend that much time on it.
I think this is right. Chuck Winnipeg said fans are really frustrated. They are. And I mean, the fans, and the way the fans are going to express that frustration is through a Bronx cheer when the goalie is struggling.
And for the record, it wasn't just a Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, guys, I don't know if they play it during
a Bronx Park cheer, by the way.
In Winnipeg, it could be. Yes, that would be fine. But
on Henderson Highway, shout out Elmwood. The point is, Drew, what I was going to say, though, is that it wasn't like it was only Connor Hellebuyck that was getting the ire of the fans. I mean, when the power play stunk, and it stunk tonight, when the power play wasn't good, the fans booed the power play. So, I mean, like everybody is open
and
to
I'm fine with
arrows.
that. I guess, I don't know. It's just something about it. I'm just being honest with you guys.
Yeah, I understand. I don't
because it's Hellebuyck and he's your MVP. He's played more games than anybody else in the league this year. And as Dave has mentioned many times, basically since he entered the league, I don't know. I just think it's kind of like, it's a bad goal. Be unhappy with it. But the Bronx cheer just to me is like, you reserve that for like really
I understand. But I don't know
situations where they deserve to be booed.
I think they're just like giving it. Again, it's like what I said the last time this happened. I think it's a lot of it is directed at this team in total. Like, I don't think it's just a Connor Hellebuyck there. I think the fans are just, I think it's an opportunity because there's a whistle, the play stops. The fans have an opportunity to express their displeasure. And I think that's what they're doing. People say, oh, it's not, I don't think it's entirely at 37. I don't think 37 is above criticism is what I would say. But I think that a lot of this is,
I just don't want a Patrick Waugh, Mario Tremblay situation.
No, I don't think you're going to get that. I think
he's only got 1 year left on his contract after this year.
He's going to be in Detroit anyway, so it doesn't matter. The point is, timestamp this one for that.
Dave's joking, by the way.
I'm
but
not sure.
but anyways, the point I was going to say is that I just think that the fans are fed up. And again, people are paying very good money to go to these games. And sure, the Jets have controlled play the last couple of games, but the big dogs who are supposed to be scoring goals and putting this team on their back aren't doing it. And as a result, the fans are pissed, and I don't blame them.
Jets make it 3-2. It comes at the 17-15 mark. It was a very busy second period. Clearly, Nino Niederreiter getting his 20th of the season, assist to Nate Schmidt and Kyle Connor. You have to like a lot about Niederreiter's effort here. He's going hard to the net, which is what the MO on him has been since the Jets acquired him. He goes hard to the net. He sort of really makes a nice catch and then almost catches it and then drops it at his feet.
Catch and release, just like Dave does on the Lake Winnipeg waters.
It's really what it looked like. The NHL version of doing that with a puck, and he drops it at his feet and then he bangs it past Marc-Andre Fleury. Nothing flashy about it. Nicely executed in that he's able to sort of make that the move in one swift motion, and an all-important goal for the Jets to cut it from 3-1 back to 3-2 late in the second period. I should have said, and I apologize for missing out on this, that the Logan Stanley goal, because it's his first of the season, that is our Seagram shot of the game for tonight, although it certainly isn't much of a shot, but it's a nice play, goal, the player in the right place at the right time. So the Logan Stanley goal is the Seagram shot of the game. Seagram's VO, masterfully blended, distinctly Canadian, available wherever any of your finest liquor products are sold. So I should have mentioned that, and it's 3-2 after 40 minutes, and the Jets are going to have to.
Hold on, are you not throwing to Dave right here to talk more about that goal?
Go ahead, you can talk about it. Sorry.
No, I mean, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit there. No, I'm joking, but no, I mean, it's first off, Nate Schmidt is streaking. He's on a 2-game point streak, so you got to love that. Mm-hmm. But like Niederreiter, that's exactly, you're right. It was a skilled, just to get control of that puck.
Yeah.
Because Schmidt's he's kind of turning and he's putting the puck on net, which is good. Yeah. That's what the Jets need to be doing right now. And they did a lot of that tonight. But yeah, like Niederreiter is a big boy. He has that long reach, and he just does, uses the reach and puts it past Fleury. So, he's had an impact right away. And it's unfortunate that the Jets aren't getting goals from the usual cast of characters like Scheifele and Connor and Ehlers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought just, a really nice individual effort by Niederreiter. And he was noticeable again all game long, right? For doing those things, going to the net, shooting, him and Ehlers, I saw on Twitter, several people were pointing this out, but I agree. Like that line, I would be shocked if they go back to that line, put it that way.
Look,
I'm talking about the Nemesnikov line. Like I realize Dubois is out of the lineup.
Right.
But I just don't like what's happening there. I think it should be Scheifele, Ehlers, and Niederreiter.
Well, something's got to give for this team that can't score goals. Another game with only 2 of them. The Jets had opportunities in the third period. We mentioned the power play, the Kyle Connor one where he was all alone in the slot. They pull the goalie. They have the puck deep in the wild zone. Mark Scheifele has to find a way to not give up this puck. He just can't. He has to be harder on the puck in this instance, and he isn't. And I'm sure he wishes that he was, but it ultimately ends up Mason's shot. He blocks the shot. The puck then goes over to Scheifele. Scheifele bobbles it. Zuccarello is able to steal it from Scheifele, and he sets up Mason Shaw, who blocks the shot and then gets the goal into the empty net to give the Wild the 4-2 victory. Dave, again, just you don't need to break down an empty net goal for obvious reasons, but just emblematic about how the Jets' best players, when the Jets needed them to step up, weren't able to do it. Tonight, again, in this case, it was Mark Scheifele, being exposed at the end of the game when it was Blake Wheeler being exposed on Monday against the San Jose Sharks.
Well, big shout out to Mean Gene and to Phyllis for smashing the like button. Hopefully everyone else follows their lead, smashes that like button and hits the subscribe button. Helps get IC to 5,000.
Is Jimmy Mouth the South Heart in the chat too, Dave?
I don't know. Maybe Bobby the Brain Heenan. We'll see if the wrestling crew is all here. But look, I mean, it's a tough situation because the Jets, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Jets have not been good. I don't know how many times the Jets have been pressing for a late game tying goal, but it just the urgency that they play. And I thought that there was a little bit better movement. I didn't think Minnesota doesn't play as aggressive a PK, and maybe that was a function of their tired leg.
I know I wasn't here on Monday, but I loved San Jose's penalty kill.
Oh,
The aggressiveness.
that is the most aggressive PK. Like it is.
Yeah.
They didn't allow the Jets to set up because they knew
There was
what the
no
Jets like to
standing
do.
around on that PK.
No, absolutely. So I mean, you've got to give them but the Jets just don't have that urgency to their game, and they just again, like I said, like you call the timeout, and I just don't know what you're going to do in this situation because none of the guys have it right now. Kyle Connor doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Scheifele doesn't have it. Nikolai Ehlers doesn't have it. So if those three guys, those are your three best guys, those are your three best goal scorers on this team.
Yeah.
If those three guys don't have it, then the problem is the Jets aren't scoring greasy goals, right? Like Nino Niederreiter's goal was a greasy goal, right? In front of the net, puck hits him, he drops it, and boom, it's in the back of the net. Mm-hmm. But the problem is like, and the other thing,
and I thought Lowry, Barron, and Appleton were good tonight. Like especially earlier in the game, like the first period, like cycling, like there was a shift, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Like again, didn't realize they didn't score tonight, but like. Especially like, we're going ahead here, but like against the Panthers, against the Lightning, against the Hurricanes, like if you're not getting it from your top two lines, Dave, right? And it's possible without Dubois up the middle, right? Like you can't, how many goals are you expecting Nemesnikov to score, right? Like hopefully exactly. he scores a little bit, but I mean, it's Scheifele, it's Connor, and it's Ehlers, right? And so I think Lowry, Barron, Appleton, like that's going to be a line that Rick Bowness is going to depend on heavily, not just defensively, but offensively. But yeah, these next games against all playoff teams, or I guess I don't know if the Panthers are in a playoff spot right now, but regardless, three really good teams, three of the best teams in the East, and a team that still could make the playoffs. This season right here, right? Like if you lose 3 of 4 games here, I'm not saying you're going to miss the playoffs, but you're definitely not going to be finishing, top two in the division.
Look, they can't lose 3 out of 4 games for the next 17 games because then I'll tell you for sure they won't be in the playoffs. I mean, that's where they need to go. They need to find a way to string together some wins. And we'll talk about
it's going to be hard to win more than 2 against these teams, Drew.
Well, you have to find a way. I mean, you have to find a way. And we'll talk more about the upcoming schedule on Saturday morning's Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. back here on our YouTube channel, so you can schedule that accordingly. I mean, you got these next 4 are tough, but then the rest of March is not difficult. The rest of March is where you have to make hay. The rest of March, you got a non-playoff Predators team, a non-playoff Blues team, a non-playoff Coyotes team, a non-playoff Ducks team, a Kings team that, sure, they're in the playoffs, but you expect that you're as good, if not better than them. And then 2 non-playoff teams in the Sharks and the Red Wings. So after this next 4, then you got 7 in a row that are basically against teams that you are equal to, if not better than, at least currently in the standings. So, find a way. You got to start. This is where you're going to make the hay. It's going to be right now, from now through the end of the month. That's when you're
appropriately, Drew, starting against Paul Maurice.
Well, you know what? Maybe they'll find some motivation in that. Maybe that'll be the loose style of Paul Maurice, because we know that his teams generally don't play great defense. Maybe that'll be the panacea that the Winnipeg Jets are looking for, because it certainly wasn't tonight, despite putting 48 shots on Marc-Andre Fleury, despite winning the on the scoreboard, and all the scoreboards that don't count. The one that does count saw Minnesota 4, Winnipeg 2. That has been the Betway game recap, brought to you, of course, by Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, we'll do some contest giveaways. We'll read some of the comments from the Winnipeg Jets dressing room and whatever other shenanigans we come up with. I suspect Minuk has also got a Minuk Moose Minute for us, salivating like the dog that he is. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on this Wednesday night. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Don't go anywhere. Much more to come.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, Whoa! Looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40, you're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. 10 minutes after the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. After tonight, a couple of nights off for us so you can enjoy some quality time with your family because it gets real busy come Saturday, Sunday. Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. Saturday night after the Jets and the Panthers, right around 8:45 p.m. And then again, Sunday night, right around 8:45 p.m., the Jets and the Lightning. So a very busy weekend in store for you, chock full of quality time with your friends at Illegal Curve.
Maybe Dave M and I will head to Boynton Beach, Florida, like we were during the 2015 draft.
Well, it seems like that might be something you'd want to discuss with your families, considering it's 2 days from now. But you do you there, Mr. Ginsburg.
Oh, we were doing it up at Del Boca Vista Phase 3. Let me tell you, we were cruising around in Gary M's Beamer. We went to a Miami Marlins game with Weber, aka Kenny. It's a great little trip.
Dave,
as he publicly urinated on the beach, it was fantastic.
That's not true. That was about 10 years earlier. Drew knows that story, the St. Paul Fountain story.
No, I'm pretty sure it did happen. In fact, I've got a picture of it on my phone.
Might be on a beach.
Dave's phone is the most reckless piece. Dave is
Oh yeah,
reckless.
Dave has everything.
Everything. If you ever want to blackmail somebody, just call Dave, because he's got apparently an entire digitized library of blackmail photos and other things. But Dave Mem is clearly reckless. He looks innocent there with his head on fire, but he really is not innocent at all.
Dave is like Bob Woodward.
If Bob Woodward was evil, I suppose, in that case. Yes.
No, I'm evil Bob Woodward.
No, Dave's not evil. He has the enough information on that phone to possibly ruin a few people's lives. But yes, Dave keeps everything in that phone.
Jets head coach Rick Bowness.
I'm definitely getting mugged for my phone later.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Tico Napoli's going to take me out at the Whistle Pig.
That's why you have the iCloud.
Dave M doesn't use the iCloud.
There's no way Dave M is a cloud guy. Dave's got backup hard drives,
CDs, DVDs, floppy disks.
He's got physical backup hard drives. I'm sure of it. He doesn't believe in the cloud. Rick Bowness quote: "One of the best games we played all year. Dominated them." Rick Bowness thinks that the Jets are going to be just fine if they continue playing the way they did against the Minnesota Wild. That tweet courtesy of our buddy Sean Reynolds.
The last part of that, by the way, Drew, is not untrue. If they keep playing like this, they are going to have the results. But to say that was one of the best games they've played all year, I don't know what game. I mean, what else is he going to say? But I wouldn't say it was one of their best games of the year.
Well, it's one of the best.
How is it one of your best games of the year when you lose?
Well, I mean, because they lose. I mean,
he's saying the
process is good enough.
Yeah, the process.
Okay. Exactly.
Because that's what you need at Game 65 is to be able to hang your hat on some hollow victory.
Well, that's what you're doing. You're looking for hollow victories. Here's the full quote, courtesy of Murat, who just tweeted. He must have known I was waiting for the full quote. So thank you, Murat. As a result, I'm going to acknowledge you in public next time I see you. Quote: "It's one of the best games we've played all year. We dominated the game. 82 shot attempts. I don't know if we've done that this year. Marc-Andre Fleury was outstanding. A lot of loose pucks we couldn't get our sticks to." Continuing on, "If we play like that, we'll take it. Some nights you just don't get any puck luck, and right now we're not getting any puck luck. But I'll take that effort and the way we played against anybody." So that is the full quote, courtesy of Rick Bowness from the Twitter feed of Murat Atesh of The Athletic. Look, he's right. If the Jets played 82 games that looked like that, they would be a very good hockey team. The problem is they don't play 82 games that look like that. How many of the next 17 games are they going to play that look like that? Because it hasn't been like that for a lot of January, a lot of February, and a lot of March. Play like that over the next 17 and you'll be a playoff team.
Yeah.
Backslide or play like you've been playing largely since January, you're really beginning to play with fire, and I'm not talking about the one that's above Dave's head.
And you just mentioned it, right? Like the game on Friday night in Edmonton, awful. Then the game against Saturday, right? Like that was one of the most entertaining games of the year, even though I barely watched any of it and didn't do the post-game show with you guys, so I regret that. But I was having good times out at the Cottage. But I mean, you're right. I mean, they have like this next stretch, including the game at home against Boston, is really tough. And then it gets easier. You've got some teams that are, the Nashvilles, and I think, don't they have the Ducks in there? Or they have
Nashville, Arizona, Anaheim. Yeah, they got some bad teams.
It gets easier, but I mean, so it's just really, it's really difficult to understand because the way they played and the shot attempts, 80 plus, and all the shots, everything like that, it's hard to understand, how they would lose this game. Aside from the fact that Fleury was just, it was sorcery, really.
Yeah,
and just two other things, and we've talked about it a little bit. One, for sure, the power play and the lack of ability to get anything generated as a result of having the man advantage in big old quotes. And the other thing also that Jets need to improve. I know that I don't know what the final number was, Drew, that you said shots directed at the net were, but they got to start hitting the net. I mean, there's too many instances now of guys, missing the net. And the other thing I would say, not getting shots on 3-on-1s. I mean, Kyle Connor had that one. I think did Nikolai Ehlers have one as well?
The Connor one was in the first period, and it was Jacob Middleton that broke it up, and they didn't even get a shot off. So you're right. That's inexcusable at that point. Yeah.
And I'm just saying, so like hitting the net, I mean, there's so many, like, I understand that when a guy intentionally misses the net to get a good bounce off the backboard and hoping that it's going to maybe cause a little chaos and end up in the goalie's feet, you're going to be able to get a greasy goal. Josh Morrissey does that quite a bit where he tries to intentionally shoot wide. But I mean, there were just too many instances where it worked against them today. And that's one of the things the Jets have to do better. I mean, honestly, they need to do some accuracy shooting. Maybe that's what they need, but they need something because they're just missing the net just too much in these games.
Another quote from Rick Bowness of this about Connor Hellebuyck and his recent struggles. Quote, he'll figure it out. He's a great goaltender. He's a tremendous competitor. You don't normally see that puck go in the net. Right now, that's what's happening. We're giving up a goal like that, and we're losing by 1 goal. That speaks to the fragility of the team and everything else, and they feel as though when anything bad can happen, it's going to happen, and they're right now not in the mindset where they're able to overcome that.
And none of us would be surprised if Hellebuyck, shuts out the Panthers on Saturday night or only allows like 1 goal, because throughout his career, he's done that. He rebounds after a bad game. But again, it's a bad goal is a bad goal. And that really was, that goal was the difference in the game. It really was.
In this case, it was. It certainly was a goal that you can't let in at that time. He did. The Jets weren't able to overcome it. And as a result, they do lose 4-2. Here's more from Rick Bowness about the power play. Quote, they've just got to get one. Yeah, they had a couple of shots, but not enough. 6 minutes of that. We need to generate more offense. Is it about moving their feet or moving the puck? Both. You have to move the feet and you have to move the puck. They jam up around the front of the net. Sometimes when it comes to the point, you don't see anything because they're all right there. The puck just has to move quicker. We have to be ready to shoot it and have a net presence. We can't bobble pucks.
How are we still talking about this 65 games into the season?
Well, because it hasn't changed, and they keep going to the same 5-man unit as of late. Look, I just don't know what Blake Wheeler's bringing to the table there. And I'm not picking on him in particular, but it just doesn't seem to me like I just don't understand why the power play hasn't changed. Why
there's way too much skill for, like Dave said. Mm-hmm. What is it? 0 for 6 the last couple of games or something? Like that?
Over 9.
Or sorry, 0 for 9. Like it's killing the momentum. It just absolutely kills the momentum because earlier in the season, you were scoring 1 or 2 power play goals almost every game, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like, at least. So
I think someone needs to sing the song, get well soon. They want Cole Perfetti to get well.
Well, Cole Perfetti isn't getting well until the playoffs, and even then, who knows what kind of condition.
I'm joking. I'm just saying that right now.
I know.
It's just, again, it's funny because Rick Bowness can point to this team and say that they did a lot of things that he liked, but again, not scoring on the power play, just ineffective. Connor Hellebuyck, not playing Connor Hellebuyckian, and all those things add up to a team that's not going to be able to get it done. And look, the Calgary Flames have been middling, and they've put together 2 wins. But I think I was reading an article about Jacob Markstrom today, and they were essentially saying
he's had a terrible year.
No, he had a terrible year, but he apparently played phenomenally last night. But the crazy thing is, I think that was the first time Calgary's won back-to-back games since January.
Well, the Jets better not. If the Flames get hot, the Jets are going to be in a lot of trouble.
They're going to get burnt by those Flames, Drew.
There you go. Pardon the pun. And never mind the Nashville Predators, who have a very soft schedule ahead of them. and they have 3
or 4 games in hand.
They now have 4 games
in hand. If the Predators get into I realize this is there's a 10% chance of this happening, but if they get into the playoffs and they traded Niederreiter, Tanner Jeannot, Matthias Ekholm,
it would be amazing.
I mean, who else am I forgetting here? Didn't they trade Granlund?
Yeah,
to Pittsburgh.
Right? So if they get into the playoffs with basically their AHL roster, that would just be incredible.
6-3
I don't think it's going
to
happen.
6-3-1 in their last 10. They are, and they.
Tico Napoli saying that we can go to the Whistle Pig, but as everybody knows, the Whistle Pig in Transcona closed. What is opening up though? Salties, Winnipeg Beach. I saw the buildings. Had someone send me a picture. So
I think there's a Leopold's too in.
We'll be meeting at Salties for some food there, folks.
There we go. Let's do some contests.
Sure.
We're well over the hour mark here of the podcast. Ezzy, Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Who are you giving it to tonight?
We are going to give it to, and I hope I pronounce Andrea's last name properly, Kohak. or Kohach, fans are getting sick of either the Jets are playing not too bad, but goaltending is questionable. When goaltending is good, the rest of the Jets stink. Can't seem to get both together. And the reason why I like that comment is because, it's like maybe a little oversimplifying it, but, you just didn't expect, in that moment, Hellebuyck, or in any moment for Hellebuyck to give up that type of weak goal, right? Like, Harvey Minuk, our good Toronto friend, was tweeting at us saying, like, was that Andre Pavlik in net for that one goal, right? Like, just, you don't see Hellebuyck let in a lot of weak goals like that. So, it's just been, if it's, the lack of goal scoring, if it's not the lack of goal scoring, it's, the Jets let in some soft goals and are turning the puck over. So Andrea, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs on Twitter @ICSEG, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. And I was just falling behind a little bit. So there were a few people, Doug Thorosky, we missed him. Sometimes, just through the email world that we live in. So I missed a couple. So we're catching up. So 3 winners that didn't get their Tough Duck toques are going to get them this week.
There you go. Congratulations to Andrea, the winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. We do it after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. Time for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. This is where we give away authentic Winnipeg Jets gear. The way to enter the contest, go to the drop down arrow on the show description on the YouTube channel. You'll see the contest link. Click that contest link. The more activities that you do, the more entries you get for your chance to win the merchandise. If you can't find it on the YouTube channel, go to our website, illegalcurve.com. You'll find the link there, and you can accomplish everything that you need to do. One of those things you need to do is to enter in the unique code for the Illegal Curve contest. You put in this code, and you got 10 bonus entries. Dave, what is the unique code for tonight?
Well, it's Friendly Manitoba versus Minnesota Nice. Now, of course, I had to condense it a little bit for those of you listening on the podcast. It's Friendly MB vs MN Nice.
There you go.
Friendly Manitoba versus Minnesota Nice.
So Friendly MB vs MN Nice. That is the unique code. Just rolls off the tongue.
A nice concise code word tonight.
Yeah. Really nice and concise. Dave, I'm making it nice and easy for everybody to enter in the unique code for the Illegal Curve contest. So be sure to do that. You can win great Winnipeg Jets merchandise like tonight's winner. Dave M, why don't you announce his name?
Sorry, I'm watching the Leon Gavanke goal, so give me one sec. But yeah, it was Craig Penner. Craig often comments on our Facebook. But I think Craig's now following us on YouTube as well. But congrats to Craig on the big win.
There you go. Craig Penner, the winner of tonight's Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Congratulations to Craig. Dave will be in touch to hook you up with all the great Jets gear that you have won simply by participating in the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. I'm getting tired, but before we can wrap up tonight's post-game show, you know what we have to do.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
That would be your cue, Dave. To unmute yourself. Talk about the Moose.
Unmanuke yourself.
I was sorry, boys. I was trying, but again, like I said, the Moose just tied the game in Abbotsford. They're back in action after kicking off a 7-game
Are they playing again tonight?
They are. They're playing right now.
I didn't even know they were playing.
Exactly. Yes. The Moose are playing. It's been it was a fight-filled affair last.
So just do play-by-play for the rest of the game, Dave, and we'll just listen.
Okay. And Leon, well, it was a 5-on-3, but I believe Leon Gavanke just scored. Moose, I'll give a quick one, of course, because it's already been a long show, but the Moose found themselves down, and I talked about it a little bit to start this one, but they gave up 2 goals on the first 3 shots. Sounds familiar. Arvid Holm didn't have the best start to his game. It was going to be like, oh boy, here they go again. They sometimes have tough luck in Abbotsford. Canucks had already beaten them 3 games out of the 4 in the season series, but sure enough, late in the first period, Jeff Malott, he got his 18th. From Jansen Harkins and Leon Gavanke. And then Daniel Torgerson, the 2020 second rounder for the Jets. He shot a beauty, actually. I've got it on our illegalcurve.com website in the game recap. You can go check that out. He tied the game late, about 25 seconds after Malott's goal. So it was 2-2 going into the second. The Moose dominated the second period. And Alex Limoges, the leading scorer, he got his 14th of the season with 15 seconds to go in the second period. So the Moose had a 3-2 lead going into the final frame. Kyle Rao, who was a longtime member of the Iowa Wild, I believe, he scored to tie the game. But then Jeff Malott got his second of the game about a minute and a half after that to give the Moose a 4-3 lead, which is how they would end that contest. And the Moose would kick off 7 games on the road with a big 4-3 win, which is huge because they continue to push in the Central, trying to catch Texas and Milwaukee, who are sitting ahead of them in the standings. But the Moose are not going anywhere. They're 9-1, 1-0 right now on the current streak they are on. And they were without Christian Reichel, who's day-to-day. I don't know if he's playing the lineup. I haven't checked today. And yeah, they get lots of timely goals for the Manitoba Moose, unlike the Jets. And congratulations to Dominic Tonnato and his wife, because they had a baby. I usually don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, but someone it somehow entered my social media conscious. And so
it's time for the Minuk pregnancy minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So congratulations to them. But he wasn't in the game last night either. So
is Drew going to share his birth story here?
No, I'm not.
Anyways, and who else? Simon Lundmark and Jimmy Olney were back in, and Tyrell Bauer, Dean Stewart were out. And again, like I said, the Moose improved 31-17, 3-3. They're back in action tonight against Abbotsford. And like I said, last I checked, it was 1-1. And after tonight, they travel tomorrow to Iowa, and then they'll play, I believe they play Saturday and Sunday in Iowa against the Wild. So a little divisional action for the Moose as they push to catch the teams. And they've got games in hand. So the Moose are rolling right now. And the Jets, the AHL team of Winnipeg, giving fans lots of cheer about. The prospects are doing well, but the NHL team, not so much.
Well, there you go. Dave M will keep you abreast of
everything. That's my shortest Moose minute of all time, for the record.
We appreciate it. You'll keep everyone abreast of what's going on in tonight.
Triple M. That's what Colby was calling it. We just got to go with Triple M.
There you go.
Just rolls off the tongue better.
You can follow Dave on Twitter at ICDave for the Moose coverage of tonight's game. And, of course, the Moose game recap and the Jets recap will all be available on our website, illegalcurve.com. Reminder, Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show back here on our YouTube channel. Saturday night, the post-game show right around 8:45 or so. And then Sunday, again, 8:45 p.m. Jets busy Friday, Saturday in South Florida against the Panthers, and then Tampa Bay against the Lightning.
They almost scored there.
Well, there you go.
That was
Want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Coffee.
Dave, your phone shut off.
Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. I'm pretty sure whatever you're doing, Dave, is probably some sort of YouTube copyright. Actually, the Moose just scored.
They actually just scored.
Is that the goal? Amazing. Is that the 1-1 goal or the 2-1 goal?
Is that live?
It was the 1-1 goal. And for the record, there's no sound.
Dave, that's like you already knew the winning lottery numbers and you pretended like you won the lottery. That's not fair.
But the point is, there's no copyright.
Any episode of Fresh Prince.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they tricked Jeffrey into thinking he won the lottery. That was a good episode. A big thank you to our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey.
What was Carlton's real name?
Alfonso Ribeiro.
Correct.
Thank you. Don't try and Fresh Prince me.
I would watch Fresh Prince after school we're the same age, Drew. So it was Fresh Prince after school every day.
Can we get that? Can we get that clip cut so that I can play that at future times? Next time Ginsburg says that I'm 75 years old or something, he just said we're the same age. So I want that clip cut and turned into a hotkey.
The best. I'll repeat this just before we end the show here.
Yes.
The best was back in the TSN 1290 days, like early in the TSN 1290 days, when someone called in and we had Remus running the R desk, and someone actually was confused. They're like, "How old is Drew actually? Is he 65?" And Remus is like, "No, he's the same. He's like a year older than Ez and like a couple of years older than Richie." I'll never forget that. So it's appropriate on the 2-year anniversary of Sports Talk Winnipeg, right?
There you
Pardon
go.
me, Winnipeg Sports Talk.
That was a funny one nonetheless. Big thank you to all of you for joining us. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave us feedback, leave us comments here on YouTube, leave us comments on our Apple's iTunes page as well. We appreciate all the feedback. We'll be back Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Until then, Dave Minuk is in the top right, Ezra Ginsburg's in the bottom
West Philadelphia, born and raised, baby.
I'm in the top left. My name is Drew Mandel. Thanks for joining us. Until Saturday at 9 a.m., we wish you a good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.